Arvind Kumar is a very uh, important person doing important to take into that from the Christian perspective. He has filed many lawsuits and acted against Christian missionaries who had acted against Hinduism in India. Recently, he got his attention by publishing an article in Sunday Guardian regarding uh, a disputed conference that was about to happen at Madras University. So today we are going to talk with Arvind Kumar about this. Namaste, Arvind Kumar.
Namaste.
Yeah.
And
So
thank
can
you
you
for
please
having
tell
me.
us? Sorry.
Namaste and thank you for having me here.
Yeah, that's our pleasure. Yeah, Mr. Arvind Kumar, can you please tell us about what was the planned conference that was about to be held in Madras University and why the Hindu organizations, along with people like you, protested against it and vehemently did something to stop it?
See, the conference is called the Conference on the Study of Indian Religions. And this was supposed to be held at the University of Madras, the Department of Christian Studies. But if you go to the previous edition of the conference in 2018, you'll see it's completely hostile to Hindus. They have titles like subterfuge and charlatan, and every single presentation they had at the conference had a negative term to it. Like Yudhishthira is deception, and the gods are, they cheating, subterfuge, and is it authentic? These are the words they use, and this is run by a bunch of Christians. And this was held at the University of California at Davis in 2018. And if you look at the background of the professors, they are all Christians. There is a person by name Brian Pennington. They are from the Christian universities. So Brian Pennington from Elon University. There's Chad Bowman from Butler University. There's a person from St. Michael's College, Reed Lachlan. And there's a person by name Archana Little. Now, she hides that her name is Archana Little. She markets herself as Archana Venkatesan. So this is a deception on their part, and their conference is about deception about us. So she should use a Christian name, Archana Little. So, and what business is it of the Department of Christian Studies to study about, to conduct a conference that is hostile towards Hinduism? And the person there is a person by name James Ponnaya, who is a pastor at Shivagangai Diocese. So this is why we protested it, and it's now being cancelled. And you must have read my article in Sunday Guardian. It's given all these details, and it's also part of the American foreign policy.
Yeah, I've read your article, but the title of the conference is like it's about something to discuss about the religions of India. It's not talking exactly about Hinduism, and I find nothing hostile about hostile to Hinduism in that conference.
Let me read the titles of the previous conference. Okay, you might want to see this. Because you may say it's Hinduism, it had nothing to do with Hinduism. Because, you may say it's not Hinduism, but it had everything to do with Hinduism. It had nothing to do with Sikhism or Jainism or the fraud and the Syrian Christians of India, the other sects. There are some Islamic sects which are only in India. So they never talk of these groups, like the Bohra Muslims or whatever it is, right? They don't talk of anything else. Their singular focus is Hinduism. So even the title is very deceptive to say it's a conference on the religions of India. But again, it's at the Department of Christian Studies. And you may say there's nothing between, you have not found something in this conference because it's not been held yet. But the people who are organizing the conference are the same people. Reed Lachlan, Chad Bowman, Brian Pennington, and Archana Little. Now let's read through the list of the titles in the previous conference. I'm going to read them out to you. So you may say that the current conference, you have nothing against Hinduism. That's because they have not yet conducted it. But what we do know is that the same people who conducted the 2018 conference are the ones conducting this, which is Reed Lachlan, Chad Bowman, Brian Pennington, and Archana Little of UC Davis. And the other person is James Ponnaya, who is a pastor in Shivaganga. Now let me read out the titles of the presentations in the previous conference. You will see that every single title has a negative word like charlatan or deception, fraud, scandal, and so on. There were 20 presentations. Every single one of them was negative, and not a single one of them was anything other than Hinduism. Now they deceptively title it that it's religions of India. But why is it then they do not discuss about Jainism or Sikhism or Buddhism or even the Syrian Christians, the Bohra Muslims, or Parsis? They don't do anything of that sort. Or the Jews who were specific to India, they don't do anything of that sort. Right? You'll see every single title is on Hinduism, and what business has the Department of Christian Studies in the University of Madras to focus on Hinduism with our money, with the taxpayer money. Okay, let's go through the titles. Concealing and Revealing in the Making of Family Gods in Tamil Nadu. So they are talking of concealing. Divine Deception or Priestly Artifice. Its rationale and justification in Sri Swasta Nivrata. When spirit possession is deception. Reassessing religious tradition as modern industry. So this was the first session. They had 3 talks. All 3 of them you can see how they are. So the next session, dissimulation in early American yoga. Celebrity, scandal, and the modern godmen of India. And the third one, beware the charlatan, Sant and Asant in Nishkulananda Swami's Kosat Padi. How does that feel? Like, that's the second session.
Yeah.
And you go on and on, you see shadows of inauthenticity. History and hagiography in Veerashaiva and Lingayat origin stories. Desire, deception, and sinister sovereigns. Arts of artifacts. Transformation of the Hindu divine. So you see the transformation itself is considered an art of artifacts. So that is how they discuss. But what about talking about Jesus and their miracles and so on? What about that? And what about Saint Thomas? Was that not mythology? Now the next one is interesting. 2 stories of the origins of the Pandavas. Yudhishthira's authenticity, legitimacy, and deceit. So this is you get the idea.
Yeah, I got the idea. The topics which we have said were really controversial, and I think they might have submitted many papers regarding to that topic. And what would be the impact that would create in Hindu society when they do such conferences?
See, the purpose of so what I read to you were not just the topics; they were actually the titles of the papers. They were actually the titles of the papers. What I was reading. There are many more. They go on the same way, like Mirabai. Well, the real Mirabai, please stand up. Competing claims to authenticity and truth. So this is how they pull down our revered figures. The goal is to create literature against Hinduism. That way they can create a massive amount of literature and start attacking India in future. And they use the professors as their tools to do this, to lend legitimacy to their anti-Hindu propaganda. This is all part of American foreign policy. And the reason the universities are part of foreign policy is that these departments were started post-World War II. As a direct result by the military intelligence, as a direct result of their shortcomings in World War II in not being able to use the other culture's weaknesses against them. So they started these departments with the sole aim of helping the intelligence and the foreign policy of the US. to undermine other countries.
Okay. In your article, you mentioned about an organization called UNCARF, which is a part of US Congress. Can you please tell us what the UNCARF is about and how it works?
Okay. The USCIRF is deceptively called the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. Now, religious freedom is a term used by Christians as a euphemism for Christian conversion. USCIRF has its origins in 1996 in the Southern Baptist Convention, with Bill Clinton setting up an advisory commission. Now, very curiously, that commission did not have a single Hindu on it, that advisory commission. It had Muslims, it had mostly Christians, it had Jews, it even had a Buddhist. But for Hinduism, the representatives were hostile professors, like one of them was Diana Eck of Harvard University. The other person was from Council on Foreign Relations. The two of them were both hostile towards Hindus. They recommended the creation of USCIRF, this commission, but their report actually talked about focus on Christians. So they knew they were pro-Christian. And Diana Eck actually has worked with World Vision and World Council on Churches, or World Council of Churches. And that is her background. She's a Harvard University professor running a front organization called Pluralism Project, which is totally anti-Hindu. She was also responsible for cancelling Dr. Subramanian Swami's course in Harvard University. She's never done this for any person of a Christian or a Jewish religion or Islam. So that's the background. And USCIRF, they do propaganda. 31 of the 54 people who have been commissioners in its 20 years of existence. So after the advisory commission recommended the creation of the organization, the Office of so-called Civil Rights for Religious Freedom was created, and USCIRF came into existence. And this is what they've been doing. Like in the 20 years of their existence, they only hire Christians and Jews and an occasional Muslim, but not a single Hindu. Of the 54 commissioners, 31 have been Christians and not ordinary Christians. They have been bishops, cardinals, televangelists, faith healers, the so-called miracle workers, all the converters and missionaries. And some of them are dubious characters. They've been convicted of crimes. Some of them are pedophiles, like Theodore McCarrick, who was a cardinal. He's a pedophile. He's been accused of pedophilia. They have not taken action against him, but that's a problem.
Okay, so basically you're saying that UNCARF is deceptively called as an organization that advocates religious freedom, but actually it advocates promotes Christianity, and it helps some other organizations to counter Hinduism and other similar religions, right?
That is absolutely right, because if they were neutral, then they would actually oppose Europe's laws on banning burqa or the hijab. The headscarf ban in France, if girls wear headscarves, they are deprived of education. That never comes under criticism. Interfaith marriages are banned in Israel. That is never criticized. Japan has all but banned Islam. That's never criticized. Switzerland has banned minarets. And Germany collects tax called the church tax to help Christianity. So now, these are never criticized. Even the pedophilia in Vatican, they did not criticize. So where is the religious freedom here? I mean, this is totally focused on India and to some extent Sri Lanka and Vietnam. Their goal is to convert the people of these countries into Christianity, because once they convert people into Christianity, the people become subservient and start supporting the American foreign policy. They become passive supporters. And this is a well-known fact that Christianity is a tool of their imperialism. Like the British used it, now the British are still involved behind the scenes. The Americans use it now openly.
Okay, sometime before I heard about a project called Afro-Indian Project, a project which was funded by an NGO based in US. The project that advocates like the Dalits of India are actually they are similar to African people who are enslaved by white masters. So in India, they are in India. What they are saying is the upper caste people are white people, and the Dalit people are actually African people, and they are comparing the similar scenario of whites enslaving blacks that happened in India. The upper caste who are whites, they enslaved Africans. So when what information I got is when further this topic was investigated, we found that it was actually Christian missionaries who are propagating these ideas to convert the Dalits. So what I'm asking is, does UNCRF has any similar such projects which they are currently doing in India, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, as you said right now?
So the way USCIRF functions is it gives a platform to all these missionaries. Officially, they pretend that they are a neutral body, but if you go and look at the antecedents of its commissioners and its staff members, that's when you realize that they also are connected with other groups. Like they are connected with World Vision and Christianity Today, and Christianity Today is their magazine, and so on. The other thing I found out, it's very ironical because, they've also said that it's ironical because the blacks of USA actually quit Christianity in protest. That's a well-known fact. Like Muhammad Ali, he quit Christianity, and a lot of people quit Christianity. And Martin Luther King Jr. actually said that the most segregated hour is Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. because you have black churches, you have white churches. And they should not be talking about this. And we also found something very interesting in the California textbook lawsuit. When we issued a subpoena to a group called Dalit Freedom Network, we found that they were operating from a church in Colorado. And we exposed them. And not only that, they were not Dalits, they were white people pretending to be Dalits. So it's a fake Dalit group. So they are coming to India, and for the Christians to come to India and tell us that they are here to save the Dalit, this is the classic white man's burden as their policy. White man's burden to civilize the world is their policy. By the way, they also did the same thing in Rwanda. The Aryan invasion theory, what you said, the light-skinned people enslaved the dark-skinned people, they used it in Rwanda. Which is ridiculous. Both are blacks. The Tutsis and Hutus are blacks.
Yeah.
They said the light-skinned Tutsis were the Aryans who enslaved the dark-skinned Hutus, and it resulted in a genocide. And everywhere the Aryan theory goes, there's a genocide. We saw the Holocaust in Europe. And in 1957, I think, Periyar was arrested. Ramaswamy Nayakar, sorry, I shouldn't say Periyar. Let me call him by his name. Ramaswamy Nayakar was arrested for peddling hate and calling for the mass murder of Brahmins, based on the same Aryan theory, which is a fake theory. By the way, that theory came from the Bible. So that's another thing. It's pseudo-scientific. It's a biblical theory which assumes that everybody today is a descendant of one of the three sons of Noah.
Ham, Shem, Japheth, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that theory that says that Indians are descendants of Ham, who was cursed by his father Noah to be slaves of his other sons, Shem and Japheth. So the elder brother Ham, along with his descendants, will be slaves to Shem, Japheth, and their descendants until the world ends, right? And that's the theory used by the Christians to colonize Africa and Asia.
Right. The interesting part is, until 1895 or so, the Aryan race was even called Japhetic race. If you look at Jules Verne's book, Journey to the Center of the Earth, the Japhetic race figures in that, even in popular literature. Even in popular literature, they were known as the Japhetic race. the descendants of Shem are the Semitic race today.
Mm-hmm.
And
Semitic. Oh.
right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
slavery in the US was justified with the story in the 19th century, that during the Civil War in 1860s, the Baptist Church actually justified slavery using this story. But what the academics today should be ashamed of is that they actually don't even know that it came from Bible, and they've been manipulated into embracing this theory. And there's another theory called the Aryan migration theory, which is also from the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, because God scattered the people with many languages. So one language, the mother language, was in one place somewhere in Central Asia. It's also a biblical theory. Now the professor should be ashamed that they did not know they've been peddling a theory which is a biblical theory without realizing it's a biblical theory.
Okay, so you told me about the example of Rwanda and how Christian missionaries created tussle between two groups, and they create genocide. So, can you please tell me what's the plan for India? I mean, like presenting more hatred papers towards Hindus. What they've planned for India?
So the plan for India is to convert the people of India away from Hinduism. This is one of the things that people do not realize, that America is not against Islam. Islam is their pawn. In the global politics, in global geopolitics, Islam is their convenient pawn. In fact, you will see Saudi Arabia is their close ally. Saudi Arabia is such a close ally that you won't believe that they even ban Palestinians from working in their oil companies.
Oh.
So this is a surprise for many people. Of course, the Shias are against them, but the Sunni world is part of their plan, and they use them as pawns in India. They want to convert the people of India, and because Hinduism is standing in their way. Hindu civilization is standing in their way of gaining absolute control over the world. Because
Okay.
Hindus think for them. We think for ourselves.
How do we claim that? No, sir. How do we claim that Hinduism stands in their way of imperialistic design?
That is because we think for ourselves, and we are decentralized. Their model is centralizing everything, whether it is God or their economic policy or their political control, whether it's a pope or whatever it is. They centralize everything. We don't care, everything is self-organizing. The power is in the hands of society. Their goal is to put power in the hands of institutions, which is centralization. And even when they attempt to pass law, we don't care. We just live our way, and that's a problem for them. So the only way for them is to Christianize us. Let me give you an example of two countries, Japan and Philippines. Both are similar countries in the Pacific Ocean. But one is wealthy, prosperous. The other country is poor, and they are essentially, they do maid service for the West. They are subservient to the West. And they are subservient to the West. So what's the difference? Japan actually kicked out the Christian missionaries when they were 10% of the population, and they went their own way. Philippines embraced Christianity, and they have become enslaved in mind. Now, earlier they used to enslave the bodies, now they enslave the minds. That's the only difference. And you will see this over and over again. People who criticize India never criticize Europe. Like I told you, whether it's the headscarf ban or the minaret ban, it never even enters their minds. That's the level of indoctrination. It never even enters their minds that it could be considered as a violation of religious freedom.
You explained us about the deceptive conference to be held to bring down Hinduism. Also, you briefly explained about us regarding the UNCARF. It's an output of foreign policy devised by the US strategists to neo-colonize the countries. And also, you gave us examples like how African people were separated from each other based on theories which were created by the Christian fundamentalists and how they control the economy. So right now, what I'm asking is, what were the steps, actions taken by people like you to stop such activities happening in India?
I should say my role was just in first exposing and writing the article, and others have swung into action here, really. And that's wonderful. It created a buzz. The first one to tweet it was Professor R. Vaidyanathan. And that created a buzz. And then there was Vijaya Chandramouli, who lives in Belgium, who actually, through her contacts, reached out to Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who in turn got the governor to cancel this. Now that's very interesting. So, and then it's also created protests in the US. There's a person by name Archana in Seattle who actually opposed the Seattle City Council's anti-Hindu resolution. And she took the leadership there. And she's again done a wonderful job here. There's a protest campaign going on in the US against the universities, with people calling in and emailing them. So you should check with her if you can. And that's another campaign that's going on. But the conference itself is cancelled. It has been cancelled in Chennai. It's not going to come back. With the kind of awareness that she had, I can guarantee it will not come back.
Yeah, and the efforts which you people were put were to be appreciated. But since you said that these were organized by the government themselves, well organized, and they have a very well structured to implement their goals, do you think that right now what we have is enough to stop it?
No, it's from the foreign policy perspective, it's not enough. There needs to be more, but it's stopped. The conference is stopped, but the other efforts, the associated efforts of converting people of India to Christianity and the foreign policy subversive actions through various foundations and NGOs, all of them connected to Christians, where they coordinate their efforts, those need to be stopped as well. As far as the professors go, we need to put an end to their access to India. Do not allow them to come into India. The Indian government needs to stop them from coming into India. Just allow the science and technology and medicine collaborations. You do not need to allow the other professors from UK or US or other European countries to enter India at all. Just block them. And we have a precedent because in the 1960s and 70s, Indira Gandhi actually evicted the professors from India for their connections to CIA. And that was not a conspiracy theory. It was revealed by a senator's investigation in the US which is curiously called the Church Committee. That's because his name was Frank Church. It had nothing to do with the church. His name was Frank Church. The Church Committee actually revealed that they had been using the academia as a CIA front. So the Asia Foundation was part of the group that was evicted from India. And prior to that, there was an MIT Economic Center that was advising India. It turned out to be a CIA front. So we have these precedents. The current government needs to do the same thing. They just need to evict the American professors from India. This access to India is a recent phenomenon since 1990s. In exchange for the H-1B visa, the Clinton administration negotiated this. And then the Bush administration advisors followed the same thing, and as did the Obama administration. Now we need to roll back the access, and not allow them to get into India.
Okay. What would be your advice to people, Hindu people, how Hindu people can safeguard themselves from getting trapped into such conferences arranged by the Christian organizations in future?
Yeah. Do not respect authority, especially the professors. Just because they have a title and a PhD means nothing. Most of them know nothing. A person who who claims to be a Sanskrit professor cannot speak Sanskrit fluently. For example, Michael Witzel in Harvard University or Wendy Doniger in the University of Chicago, they do not know Sanskrit. They claim to be Sanskrit professors. They cannot converse in Sanskrit. Now, the analogy to that would be, would an Indian who knows no English be able to get a degree in English literature or claim to be an expert in Shakespeare? I'll give you another example. There is a Harvard Tamil chair. The person who is in charge of it, who teaches at Harvard University, teaches very basic words, very rudimentary words. Let me use some Tamil words here for the Tamil speakers. Idu, adu, ama, illai, kai, kal, kal, pai, pal. These are the words he teaches. Now, these are not to be taught to PhD students. These are words you teach to a baby.
Yeah.
So words you teach a baby, you're carrying in your arms like a few months old. You start teaching these things. And this is what they claim expertise on. These are going to be your experts on Tamil literature. This is how they control with their money. So where they have the advantage over us is they have money. So with their money, they want to control the literature and narrative and the civilizations all around the world. And we need to reject them. They know nothing. They know nothing. We need to reject them. Don't even allow them to study our religions. Don't give them the opportunity. Shut them down. Block them out.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.